let's talk about this Vikings game. The Niners play the 5-5 Vikings this weekend, and really, it's possible that the wild card teams this year will be the Rams, the Niners, and the Vikings. It's possible the Niners are playing a team that's right. I mean, I think they're right in the same tier of team. So, how do you see this matchup stacking up, and what's the key for the Niners to win? Who's going to win?
The Niners will have to be very physical on defense. They would have to control the line of scrimmage. They cannot allow them to get Dalvin Cook going. He is a really, really good running back. Some people think he's the best. I'm not so sure about that, but he's damn good. So they will have to realize this is coming up the gut. And just when you think that you're getting pounded in the stomach, there's Thielen, and there are other receiving weapons as well. This is a game where actually their offense is really well matched up to beat the 49ers defense.
Yeah.
The one weak part is Kirk Cousins, his lack of mobility, and that's where we need Bosa to have a 2-sack performance, at least.
But if the Vikings get an early lead, then they can run the ball and keep the Niners. There won't be any obvious passing situations, and Bosa won't have the same impact on the game. Really, it's going to matter who gets the early lead.
Exactly, and I think that a lot of Bosa's confidence in Jacksonville is also boosted by the fact that he's going against Trevor Lawrence, against a not so great offensive line, against an anemic run game. I mean, like you say, there were a lot of things that allowed Bosa to be Bosa, and he had a really good game. But there were a couple of things that I saw from Bosa where he overruns the run lanes still. He's still doing that. I think at this point he leads the NFL in the combination of sacks and tackles for a loss. 10 and 15, I think.
Nice.
So one thing I will say about him, I think at this point, what we have is what we have in Bosa. I don't think we want to change his game. This is a guy who makes big plays. He may not always be the best run defender, but those are some great statistics. How can you argue with 15 tackles for a loss at this point in the season?
What I want to say real quick, though, is the way they're going to attack him is with screens. It's the same thing. I think they will. They should. It's the same thing that Arizona did, right? It's what they did with Connor. Those screens to Bosa's side. They did like 3 or 4 of them. And Bosa seems oblivious every time. Like, oh, right. Yeah.
One of the things, he's so almost the way you want to play him in martial arts terms is judo.
Exactly.
So he gears up and he puts everything he has like a freight train right at you. But if you use his momentum and you design things that circumvent that momentum, he will overrun it every time. And even when he pushes the pocket, he ends up 3 yards behind the quarterback before the quarterback steps up in the pocket. I mean, it's amazing the force Bosa comes at you with. And if he beats you to the inside, if he puts on a swim move or something like that, and you don't get enough contact, then he will run you over. But if you can just redirect him a little bit, that's the only way to handle Bosa. And teams have been doing that. He makes a lot of big plays. He makes a lot of bad plays. I think it's just the way Bosa plays. And unfortunately, it makes him, as you say, a liability laterally.
Well, I'm just saying the Vikings are a big screen team. So it's coming. And you thought James Conner was effective. Dalvin Cook's better. So be ready.
Fred Warner could have a seriously big game.
Sure.
If he plays, this is where he's going to be really important. Aziz Al-Shair has to be very careful in this game because one thing he does is he bites off assignments. He gets caught out of place a lot. Did you watch in the Jacksonville game when Trevor Lawrence, I think it was 3rd down and like 4 or something like that, and Fred Warner was setting the edge against any screens or running backs or anything funny going to the right side. And Aziz Al-Shair came right over and stood right next to Fred Warner, opening up the entire center of the field, and Lawrence ran right up the middle.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of like eye candy the 49ers can't bite on in this game.
Yes.
So Al-Shair has to be very careful and responsible. Again, I don't think you can change Bosa's game. I think if you tell him to watch out, essentially, then you lose that forward drive that gives you these sacks and tackles for losses.
Look, I just can't get this Cardinals game out of my head. I know the Niners just dismantled the Rams, but the Rams put themselves in a hole with that early interception that was like a punt that didn't have to happen. They really put themselves in a hole. Like, what if the Vikings just calmly get into the game with, screens and short passes and runs the way the Cardinals did and sort of just don't lose it early and let the 49ers, get into the game and see if they're going to lose it early. Like, just don't commit the turnover right away. Don't commit a bunch of penalties on defense and see how the Niners react. The Niners haven't been in a game like that in weeks. And the last time they were in a game like that, they lost. So I'm curious to see if this game could go a lot of different ways. If the Niners get an early lead, they'll probably win. But if the Vikings get an early lead, they'll probably win. I'm curious to see how the first quarter plays out. Seems like the Niners games have been coming down to that early.
I think that if the Vikings get the ball first and they spend 7-8 minutes in the first quarter getting a field goal, that's a win for them. Because that's
same with the Niners, right?
By the way, this was a freakish, but again, it was helped by the lack of discipline of the other team. That's 2 wins in a row where lack of discipline in the first quarter has allowed the 49ers to chew up the clock. That's not
the Jags just beat them. They had them stopped at midfield for a punt on the first drive and just automatic first down. Then they did it again at the 17. That team was awful. And then before the game was over, it was like 3-0. Because the Niners didn't even convert after all of that. They gave up and were like, you know what, we're just going to take the field goal. Then what do? They go 3 and out, throw deep on third down. And then, like on the second play of the next drive, one of their captains gets ejected. Like, just go home. The whole team, go home. Seriously.
And I have to say, I was disappointed to see the amount of injuries that Jacksonville took. So this was a beat-up team with starters throwing punch slaps. It was a bitch slap, excuse me. That was a very unmanly thing he did to Joanne Jennings. Number 2, he doesn't even deserve to be remembered.
You're the only person on this channel who can say that. Hey, Sybilla said it. It wasn't me.
I said it.